Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
It is the Morning Sports Desk on a Thursday, the 17th of April, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. I'm CJ Baumgartner. That's Corey Tackman. Corey, we have some Park Region Conference baseball on the airwaves, featuring a team, well, both teams really, that have been towards the top of the Park Region Conference over the last decade.
Yeah, it looks like Wadena Deer Creek travels to Parker's Prairie this afternoon, a game on the Superstation K106. I'm not going to be there. You're not even going to be there. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in Kyle Gilsey.
Oh.
Kyle's going to do the game.
He's going to do the game. I told him, I was like, have you been to the field? And when's the last time you've been to the field? And he's like, not for a while. I'm like, you're going to like it.
Yep.
They completely redid their facilities. We talked about this in football season. The football press box, I can't commend enough to AD John Noga and company at Parker's Prairie for building a big press box for football that can fit everybody comfortably, where you get your own space. And there's a billion electrical outlets, which I'm paraphrasing, but is being dramatic, but still, like, it's very good. Appreciate that for football. For baseball, because obviously Kyle is used to, along the left field line, there was the concession stand, and above the concession stand was a little kind of crow's nest of sorts where you could call the game from, which I've called games from that. You've called games from that. It's a good view, but it's better behind home plate, covered up on top of the grandstand in the new press box that they've built there, and the new grandstand that they've built, and a new scoreboard they got up there. It's just it was a nice field before, but Coach Denny and company have really invested a lot into that baseball field. They put up a new batting cage. Like, it's just completely redone at Parker's Prairie, and it looks really excellent.
It looks really excellent. It's like a real grandstand. It's a bleacher seats and a press box, and yeah, it's pretty good. All the pavers that they've community members have purchased and put in. It's cool. And yeah, and then on top of it all, you get to watch two teams who are perennials in the Park Region Conference, and a team in Parker's Prairie who's coming off a state tournament bid a year ago, and they're real good again this year.
Real good. As we talked about earlier in the week, no sophomores on their varsity roster, no freshmen, all juniors and seniors, which in this area for Class A, to have a team where it's like, not only do you have the good players, but you have like the number of good players that you have, where you're like, there probably are some sophomores there. I guarantee you there are sophomores on that team that would be starting varsity in a lot of other schools in the area. And it's like, no, it's okay. Wait your time. These guys now. And that's such a great spot to be in this program. And obviously Parker's Prairie has that right now, defending Section 6A champions, state runners up a year ago. And I guarantee you, we're not talking to Coach Denny today. Kyle will be, but I guarantee you it'll sound something along the lines of, yeah, they want to get to state. It's on the goal, but it's definitely, my guess is they want to get right back to target field.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. You're saying they would like to play at target field for a state championship? Is that what you're saying?
Is like, it's not just a, hey, let's get to state and what happens. It's a target field.
Yep.
Realistic expectation for this.
It's a little earlier game than normal. It's a 2:45 pregame with a 3:00 first pitch this afternoon. So that's cool.
Plan accordingly.
And plan accordingly. And as we're doing this right now, no rain yet. I
think the rain's supposed to come at 5-ish. So the fact that they're playing the game at 3, you should be able to at least get in 5 innings.
Let's do this. Let's get this game in. Let's make it happen.
And at the very least, Kyle will be dry inside the nice grandstand press box. So that'll certainly help out as well. All right. Find more information online at WDenaRadio.com, Superstation K106 mobile app, or finding Sports Cow on Facebook. Corey?
Moo.
All right. Let's talk about the good folks at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena, because, Corey, it's always good to eat at the Pizza Ranch.
Well, I don't know. Do you have those pictures I sent you by chance?
Which ones? You sent me a lot of pictures.
I sent you 2 pictures from Pizza Ranch yesterday.
from Pizza Ranch yesterday. I did see those. Let me
Okay,
pull them up.
it's fine. If you can't get them right now, that's not a big deal because I will walk you through some of these things that they've got going on. A brand new game at the FunZone Arcade in Wadena, and it is a Star Wars card collecting game. And when I look at the pictures, it's not like a coin pusher, but you use the coins to win these cards. And I'm talking about who am I seeing here? I got to look through these. I've got Darth Vader card, Luke Skywalker, Boba Fett, Chewbacca, the Emperor, Yoda, Stormtrooper, Han Solo, Leia, like some unbelievable stuff. It has been described to me as the Avengers game on steroids.
Wow.
So this
Look
is
them up there.
new
Look at these things.
roll at the FunZone Arcade in Wadena. And then if you show up on a day like today to eat, well, it's stop by the buffet because it's wing night at Pizza Ranch. Boneless. I don't know why I said it like that. Boneless and traditional wings. Boneless. If you're from Minnesota, you know that they're boneless.
Yeah. Good wings. Good
Boneless or traditional, you know, and all the amazing sauces. So wing night, brand new game night at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Look at that thing.
It's so cool. It's so cool that we have this. It's so cool that we have this in Wadena. Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade offering a great time for kids' birthday parties or for adult birthday parties. I don't know, like my birthday's not for like another 9 months, but I can plan a half birthday party if it means I get to go there.
I like pizza.
I like pizza.
I like wings. I like salad bar. I like games.
Mm-hmm. I like the dessert pizza. I like the cookie pizza. Like it. Get it out there. Get out there. Go to Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Proud sponsors, we hope, of the Morning Sports Desk. All right, Corey. The Minnesota Twins have won 2 games in a row for the first time since April 1st and 2nd. So, hey.
We come in.
Not only that, they've won 3 out of their last 4 games. So, look at that. The Twins got a walk-off win yesterday. They were up 3-0, nearly blew it to the New York Mets, but then were able to come in and win in the bottom of the 10th inning thanks to a walk-off RBI single by none other than the Frenchman himself, Ty France. No longer a tie game. No longer would he surrender. He was confident and had a little Bastille Day moment of his own. So
I'm going to start calling him the Baguette.
The Big Baguette.
The Baguette himself comes through in the clutch.
Send emojis of nothing but the French flag and French bread, please.
It should be noted, by the way, I don't want to give away company secrets or anything, but every time Ty France does anything of you and me and Zeke in a text thread, one person will send the Baguette, one person will then respond with the flag, and then I've started responding with a cigarette. And we just like hit all 3 very quintessential French things, and nothing else needs to be said.
No, nothing else
came through again.
Exactly. That's how you know. If you're not watching the game, if you're at like an appointment, if you're at a concert, if you're at whatever, and you're like, oh, what? And you feel your phone buzz and you just see the French logo, you're like, oh, cool. Ty France did something cool.
You know.
The
only thing is, if ever like geopolitically something happens and France is responsible, we're going to celebrate because we think that the Twins did something good. There's 3 of us who are not going to know what's happening in the real world.
The French took back the Statue of Liberty. What? French flag. Oh, cool. Ty France had a 2-run bomb.
Yeah,
that's cool. And also in this thread, to give my thing away, anytime Harrison Bader does anything, it's all caps and it's Bader, but I got rid of the E, so it's just Bader.
It's like an app. You've removed all the vowels from his name and gone straight to the R.
It's like when I worked at the TV station in Duluth, I had a camera guy. I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I had a camera guy, just a super nice guy, just like big dude, had just like a very, and I mean this complimentary, like a bro energy, because he looked at me like, yeah, bro, let's go do that. Like, yeah, bro, I'm going to go get some B-roll over there. And, where you want to go for lunch? I don't know. McDonald's? Yeah, bro, let's go. We'll swing through a drive-through. Like that's what it was. And he would always, our anchor's last name was Hanger. and he'd come into the newsroom, like to walk to the edit bay, and he'd just go, Hanger, yeah, bud. And that's so I always think of Bader.
Someone described, I said the other day, like, I didn't know what Harrison Bader looked like, and then I saw him, and I was like, that's exactly what I thought he would look like. And was it you or Zeke who said he looks like a guy who would really enjoy WeFest?
That was not me. That was Zeke, definitely.
It's true. Like, if there's a guy who would enjoy like quintessential weekend at the lake, stereotypical bro at the lake, kind of
out of towner who owns a house on Detroit Lake, then
yes, exactly. That's who Harrison Bader is. He's like a high school. He looks like a high school middle linebacker.
Mm-hmm. He looks like a Wisconsin middle linebacker. Like that's pretty much what he looks like. And by the way, Harrison Bader came up with two different defensive plays. One was a diving catch in the 8th inning to keep the game tied with a runner on second base and 2 outs, playing left field, diving to make the catch. And then in the, I believe, 1st or 2nd inning of the game yesterday afternoon, threw out a runner at the plate, throwing it 91.3 miles an hour to throw out a guy at home. Harrison Bader's a Gold Glove center fielder, and he gets to play in left field next to Byron Buxton. And they asked Buxton about a post game, like, what's it like playing with Harrison Bader? He's like, I've played with some good defenders. Like, I've played alongside Max Kepler. I've played alongside Eddie Rosario and the things he was able to do. But like, he's like, I look at Harrison Bader, and there's plays where it's like, he's not, like, he's going to have to dive for that, and he just catches the ball. And then he's like, there's plays where it's like, he's not going to be able to get that, and he dives for it. Having Harrison Bader, Byron Buxton, and when the Twins put Deshaun Kersey in right field, that defensively is a really good outfield.
Well, it also means you can have a guy like Wallner in right field who's not going to cover as much ground, but it's okay because Buxton doesn't really have to worry about anything to his right.
Right.
Bader's going to get everything
exactly
to Buxton's right side.
Exactly. And Bader can make plays. Bader can do stuff. Bader's got a really good arm, which is underrated about him. He does have a good arm. And if Wallner is in right field, Wallner's just got a good arm as well. Wallner is he was a former pitcher at Southern Mississippi when he played college ball. Like, he's got a cannon in right field, and teams respect his arm. And then you compare that with, the speed. It's a really intriguing Twins outfield that they have. Here's the other thing, Corey. Harrison Bader got thrown out trying to steal second base on like the classic, like he slid, but he kind of slightly came off the bag on the tag attempt. So like the replay reviewed it, and like by letter of the rule, he's out. It was like a less egregious Ken Herbeck because Lindor just kept his hand. He just kept the glove hand on the body all the way through the slide, and Bader just happened to kind of like from his arm sliding past the bag to when his leg could kind of like retouch the base, he was out. So anyway, but Buxton is 4 for 4 on stolen bases already this year. This is one of the faster stolen base starts he's had in years. Deshaun Kersey can steal some bases. Willie Castro can steal some bases. Harrison Bader can steal some bases. When's the last time the Twins have put out a lineup with 4 guys in it? You're like, all of them, you're like, oh yeah, that guy could steal a base.
Well, I don't know the answer to that because they didn't steal bases. So
time. Yeah.
The question will be, will they actually try to steal some bases? That's the next. They've got guys now who can do it. Will they? It will be the next question. I have a follow-up question, though, because you mentioned Willie Castro. Yesterday, we talked about how Correa left the game because he was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Castro had to leave the game. Was that right? And then Correa came in. Yep. What's the story?
Okay, so Willie Castro came into left the game in the 8th inning after an at-bat. And basically, he just had some, I believe, I don't know if it was oblique. I don't know if it was like whatever. He just had he said some stuff got tight. He told the team out of an abundance of caution, and they're like, you know what? We already have a bunch of other guys hurt. Let's just take you out and avoid risking it any further. So instead, hitting for Willie Castro was Mickey Gasper. And then Gasper struck out. Sorry, Mickey. And then Carlos Correa came in the field. So it's interesting that they thought he was healthy enough to play the field, but they didn't want him swinging the bat, which makes me think Correa's injury isn't quite out of the woods yet. Like, they have the off day today. Matt Wallner officially got placed on the IL after the game, so he has an IL stint. And there's a trade that the team made that we'll talk about in a second. But that's where things are for the Twins right now. Is Correa could go on the IL, so could Willie Castro. Right now, it feels like both of them are going to avoid time on the injured list. but we'll have to see. Vasquez also, by the way, got banged up in Tuesday night's game too. So it'll be interesting to see if Vasquez is good to go or if the Twins maybe call up a Jameer Camargo from St. Paul if they need him to. So that's kind of where the injury update stands for the Twins. I do want to look up one also on the stolen bases so far this year because I haven't had a chance to look this up yet. So far, the Twins still are pretty far down in stolen bases as a team. Right now, they rank 9th overall, or tied for 25th in the league. But compared to dead last, where they always are, I'll take the moderate improvement. By the way, stolen the most bases this year, the Chicago Cubs with 29.
One of the reasons they're down, too, is because they suck on offense. Like, you can't steal a base if you don't get on base, you know?
Right, exactly. So the Twins did make a trade to kind of alleviate, because a bunch of Twins fans online were like, okay, all right, well, if Correa's going on the IL or if this person's going on that, like, who are they calling up? Like, are you going to call up a Luke Keeschel? Like, who's been seen as, like, when that guy's ready to roll, like, he's probably going to play and not give up a major league roster spot? Like, are you going to call up Carson McCusker, who's an outfielding prospect? Are you going to call up another outfielding prospect who's a top 50 global prospect in Emmanuel Rodriguez? Like, are you going to pull the trigger on calling up some pretty high profile prospects in your system? And the Twins said, not quite yet. They don't want to do that. So instead they traded, they decided to jump into a relationship with Jonah Bride of the Miami Marlins. He's walking down the aisle to Target Field.
Well, it's funny. The Twins are in an interesting sort of pickle as we've talked about now for a couple of years. They have and had a glut of infielders who were all maturing to major league ready at roughly the same time. Mm-hmm. From Miranda to Lewis to Lee to Julian to Willie Castro to, they just have this glut. And what's funny and what's happening right now, what's happening this year is every single one of those guys has been asked to contribute. So there's just this, yes, there are prospects, but there's just this gap because all of the other guys matured kind of at the same time that created this glut. So there's just this little buffer zone of like, we have a bunch of guys who are major league ready. We don't know if they're major leaguers yet. And then we have just a bunch of guys who aren't there. They're just not ready to have that position. So I say all that to say the trade is what made the most sense. There's just no way you're going to bring Miranda back up instantly. And also he's hurt. So Miranda got himself hurt. And the trade was that's the only thing. That's your only move is to call a guy up who's not ready to be called up. And then you screw up all of the business side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Do that.
Service time and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want that's just not something you want to mess with. So to go trade for a guy who's just can breathe and be a warm body for a little bit, this is what they needed.
Can you go stand over at third base for a week until Carlos Correa gets healthy? And then can you please get designated for assignment again? The Twins traded for him for cash considerations. So now Marlins players won't have to buy soda in the clubhouse. So that's awesome. So that's good. But here's the other thing too. I had an opportunity to write an article. It actually just got published in the last hour talking about, here's the title. Ready for it?
Yeah.
How long will the Twins marry themselves to Jonah Bride? You gotta, because really the answer is it's probably likely that he's on the team for like a week to a month and just kind of like, as soon as they're healthy, like, all right, nice life. Thank you.
Yep.
Here you go. But it's a little more intriguing than that. So looking at who Jonah Bride is on the surface. So he spent 4 big league seasons with 2 teams. He began his career in Oakland, where he hit 192 and had an OPS of, 500 something.
Bad.
Sub 550. Bad. His WAR was negative 0.4 according to Fangraphs. Weighted runs created plus 61. League average is 100.
Bad.
That was with Oakland. Bride's first season in Miami last year.
Which, by the way, Oakland was bad.
Yes, they were bad.
So he was bad for a bad team.
Bride's first season in Miami, also a bad team last year, was a career year. He hit 276 and had an OPS of over 800.
Good.
123 weighted runs created plus and 1 F-WAR in 71 games last year.
I
So
would've said that too. F-WAR. I'm more of a peace guy. Sorry. You made a pun about marrying a bride. I'm allowed to make a war pun, right?
Yep. No, this is exactly it. And it's in fact this season, Bride came in and the 71 game sample size, is it the outlier? Is it the average? Well, right now it looked like the outlier because Bride started this season for the Marlins going 4 for 40 with an OPS, not an on-base percentage, not a batting average, on-base plus slugging of 300. So
4 for 40 is a 100. Like it's all bad.
All bad. And turns out him and the Marlins got a divorce. They designated him for assignment.
Not hyperbolically bad either, which is important.
Right.
Actually really bad.
That's bad. And he has 4 hits on the season. Only one of them is left the infield.
So you're not going to contribute on offense. I think you would argue if they need him to contribute on offense, you're screwed. Just go stand in a corner and catch every ball that comes to you. Can you just do that?
Yep. Can he do that? And he's like a league average defender. Nothing. He's not a black hole. He's not anything crazy. Just a body.
They don't have guys right now. Like they have guys who are not ready or guys who are hurt.
Exactly. And here's the interesting thing though about Bride. If you go back to last year when he was really good, this dude is a righty who does nothing but pull the baseball. When you look at when he's able to hit balls really well, he's pulling them. All 11 of his home runs last year, which was a career high for him, were to right field and to left field, excuse me. And not like to left center, like straight up left field. I'm going to see if I can pull up this.
Like where the Budweiser deck is in Target Field, it would have landed in between the B and the R of Budweiser every single time.
Pretty much. Like, look at this here. I think I got it pulled up right. Like,
yeah, that's those bullpen in Target Field.
Right. To the bullpen or the bleacher seats. That's where that's going.
Yep.
That's a spray chart. That's what he's hitting. That's what he's able to do. So, and if you look,
which is what sucks at hitting, because that's a really easy guy to pitch to.
Right. Bride has a 48.7% pull rate from the first few years of his career, hitting 29.5% to center, 23% about to right field. And so looking at this season's numbers, it's kind of gone the other way in 2025 when you only have 4 hits. One of them is to the outfield, but that went to right field, which is the other way. So he just hasn't been able to pull the ball like he's wanted to. And again, not saying that you have to pull everything and because you pull makes you a good hitter, but clearly like when he's right, he's just able to get on pitches and get like ahead of them and find a way to get them fair. Anyway, this is a long way to talk about a guy who's probably going to be on the team for a week, but he's a placeholder before everybody can get healthy. They can still get some value out of the deal. They can still have a good relationship. This isn't like they're not committing to anything long-term, Corey. This is just it's a player with benefits.
And you don't know, if Correa goes to the IL, you don't know how long this is. I mean, they're going to designate a day, right? A length of time, but
it'll be a week.
No, you just never know with Correa at this point.
Once he goes on the IL, I mean, he missed the entire second half of last year. Yeah.
Correct. You don't know what Royce's return is going to look like. Miranda is currently on the IL. You don't know what that recovery is going to like. You might be getting used to that Bride name here potentially for,
unless he sucks for a month, and then in which case Luke Keishel's ready, and then you just call him up.
If that's what it's got to be, right?
Right, exactly. It's not so much because you think the prospects aren't ready, they're going to suck. It's like you talked about. You just don't want to mess with them until you're ready to push the button.
And the Twins would prefer that Bride isn't like a smoking tire fire.
Exactly.
The level of expectation for Bride is not much above dumpster fire.
Here's a player comparison. He's just basically another Mickey Gasper.
Cool. That's going well.
Yeah, that is not going well. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe the Twins do. Maybe Carlos Correa goes on the IL, in which case the Twins have to make another move because Bride is taking Wallner's spot. Maybe the Twins DFA Mickey Gasper, and then you need to call up another player And then maybe it is Luke Keeschel. Maybe it is some of these other guys. Maybe you do, but you kind of want to wait. And also the team isn't playing. I know they won their 3 out of their last 4, but right now they still have a hole to dig out of. You kind of don't want to call you don't want to call a prospect up and be like, save us, because that's just you're going to overload them. Ideally you want to have them in when the team is playing well. So then
what happened to the Twins last year? We know how that works. I know Royce Lewis is really good, but when you're looking at a guy who has under 200 career at bats and you're like, will you save our organization over the final 4 weeks of this season? That's tough. That's really tough for someone who's still learning how to play Major League Baseball.
Exactly. Very tough to do. So, all right, there's our Twin stuff. They have the off day today. Apple TV Plus tomorrow. So that's great. I'm very happy that.
Where's that? How do I get that?
You pay for Apple TV.
Nah.
No, thank you. Oh, you can sign up for a free trial, though. You think it's a month or whatever? No, it's 1 week. You sign up for a 1 week free trial.
You know what I'm stunned about?
I already burned through my family's emails to try and set up fake accounts. So
this is what continues to stun me. Is there are roughly 5 different ways for me to not be able to watch the Twins, and not even one single way for me to watch the Twins. I mean, I take that back. There is one way. There's one way, and that's 11 games this season that are going on public access.
Plus whatever now.
Isn't that stunning? In their effort to make the Twins available, they have provided for a lot of people 5 to 7 different ways to not be able to watch them.
Good job. And back to back, they had this on Friday night too. They're on Apple TV Plus, so that's cool. Good job, guys. Back to back Friday nights. I can't watch my Twins. Good job. They then play. It's a 3-game series with Atlanta, who's got 5 wins coming into this series. Started the season 0-7. They, like the Twins, were a team that's like, oh, they could be kind of fun. Oh no.
Well, if they 0-7, that means they're hot, just like the Twins. 2 hottest in baseball.
Two of the most desperate teams in baseball, maybe. And then they play the Chicago White Sox after. So they go to Atlanta for this weekend. They come back to play the White Sox, and then you play the Angels, who have a nice start to the year. But again, not like, I mean, it's the Angels. We expect them to come back down to earth at some point. That's to end your month. And if the Twins they just need to win each of those series. If you win 2 out of 3 against Atlanta, 2 out of 3 against the White Sox, 2 out of 3 against the Angels, that's what you've won. You go 6-3 in that stretch. That'll play. What is their record right now? They're 7-12, 7-13, something like that. You do that, all of a sudden you're only 3 games below 500. You're closer to 500. And through the first month, if you just don't sink your season, which if they go 6-3, they won't. Okay. All right.
I mean, the stuff we were saying about the Twins to start the year was pertinent. It doesn't mean it wasn't true. But what's also true is that, like, you get to May and your season has life, your heart is still beating. Like, there's no reason this can't get better.
Right.
You argue it couldn't. How could it possibly be worse?
So there you go. Twins have some life. All right. Here's another thing we got to talk about, Corey. The Minnesota Vikings, the NFL draft is 1 week from today.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's crazy how we feel. It's crazy because last year the NFL draft talk was everywhere because the Vikings obviously were planning on taking a quarterback. And so, do they trade up for Drake May? Who goes number 1 overall? Well, we knew it was Caleb, but who goes after that? Do the Vikings want Jaden Daniels or Drake May or Bo Nix or, whoever? Do they want Christian Ponder? What do you want to do throughout this entire process? And when your team isn't taking a quarterback, it gets very boring very quickly.
Well, and there's not
like a ton of high profile players.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Sanders or Travis Hunter.
Yeah, right. There's really good players, but the Vikings had a really nice team and are going to get a really good, like, best player available.
They had a big offseason. Yeah. So there's not like this one glaring, like,
yeah. So, like, and best player available it's a really cool spot to be in, but there's not, do you either have to have a conversation about everybody or nobody? And I would rather have a conversation about nobody. Like, speculating's hard.
I know a lot of people talk about trading down and like, oh, the Vikings only have 4 picks, I think, in this draft, maybe 5. Do the Vikings trade down? They don't have a second round pick. So, maybe do they trade down, pick at the end of the first round, maybe get a second round pick back or something like that. Here's the thing about the Vikings, though. I think we thought in the early part, and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah still is too early in his tenure to really understand we knew at the end of Spielman, we knew that guy wants to pick twice in the first round, and then he won't pick again until the 7th, where he wants half the draft. He wants half of that round. We know what players Spielman liked. What positions he wanted to target. We're still learning that with Kwesi. The thing I'm starting to learn is everybody thought analytics. That means you want a ton of draft picks. You want a ton of this. You want a ton of that. Spielman was very non-analytic, and he loved a bunch of draft picks because he made a bunch of opportunities. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah last year could have sat back with that extra second-round pick and decided to trade up to get Dallas Turner because he made the point of we also you want a bunch of draft picks, and that's true, but you also want blue chip players on your team because good teams don't just have depth. They also just have high level guys. You want to get a guy like that for your defense. And that intrigues me. It doesn't necessarily make me think the Vikings are going to trade down. If they feel like they're going to get a really good player at 24, they're not going to trade down because, we feel like we should trade down to get an extra 3rd round pick. If you feel like you can go get a wide receiver, a cornerback, a defensive tackle, an offensive lineman who you think is good, I think they're just going to go get the guy. They're not going to be if we trade back, we can get an extra 3rd rounder and draft a 2nd string, 3rd string running back with that. It's no, we can just go get a good player because they can do best player available. Who cares if they only have 4 or 5 picks this year? Their roster doesn't need a whole bunch of picks in this current draft. So sit back, take your medicine in this draft. Next year, it all resets, and then you figure it out.
You want to know what's what's better? An actual player who can benefit you immediately, or 2 hypothetical players that don't exist yet?
Right. And I don't know if you know this, Corey. The Vikings are in a win-down window, because when does that window close?
Always.
Uh-huh.
The window closes always. Latest mock draft from NFL.com. Mark Ross has the Vikings, this updated 4 hours ago, has the Vikings at pick 24, selecting Jahdae Barron, a defensive back from Texas.
Yeah, and that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. The Vikings do need a corner. They do need to try and, obviously Mekhi Blackman is a young corner, but outside of that, you have Byron Murphy, who's a veteran. You signed Isaiah Rodgers from the Eagles, who's a veteran. You have a couple other, I'm trying to think of who else they have kind of in that room. But Cam Bynum is gone at safety. Yeah, exactly. You signed Dwight McGlothern, I believe he was the guy who got the, or whoever, what was the, Theo Jackson. Theo Jackson's the guy you signed. Dwight McGlothern is a lineman. Theo Jackson you signed to a 2-year extension, kind of like Metellus, where you're this is a bench player we think can get a good role for us. We're going to want more responsibility for him. So let's sign him to an extension, so that way we kind of give, like they did with Metellus. But adding a 1st round pick, Mike Zimmer drafted Mike Hughes back in 2018 when that team felt like it was in a similar spot, because Zimmer's you always want to draft corners. You always want to have high talented corners in your team, and the Vikings could use it. I think the defense could use some young kind of youth in them because they're old with some of the free agents they sign now. It brings that average age up. I wouldn't be opposed to it. Looking at a different mock draft here, this is from Chris Trapasso of CBS Sports, looking at his latest mock draft with the Vikings at pick number 24. He has them taking Maxwell Harrison, a corner out of Kentucky. And he said, if I were Vikings GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, I'd trade out of this pick, but without trades in this mock, I'll go with the speedy, feisty playmaker from Kentucky to be a man outside in the outside corner spot in Brian Flores' defense.
I'm in. Yeah, get them
in.
Get them all. I mean, yeah, it's fun. If you like getting into the weeds of this stuff, it's fun to look at all the different options. USA Today has, potential safety Nick Imanwari from South Carolina. But they also have they have 1, 2, 3, 4 players on the offensive side of the ball, including Gray Zabel from NDSU. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 defensive players that they could possibly take in that spot as well. So if you really want to get into the weeds of this stuff, CJ, you could spend hours and hours and hours.
You could spend a lot of time doing this. Another one from CBS Sports has the Vikings taking Malachi Starks, which is a safety out of Georgia. And again, it would kind of it'd be two-pronged to be, one, you're replacing Cam Bynum, and also two, you're trying to pick Harrison Smith's successor. The Vikings didn't have a good time picking the last safety out of Georgia, but, that turned into be Lewis Cine. That being said, Malachi Starks is the only SEC player to record 125 solo tackles and 15 passes defensed over the last few years. Not a one-dimensional safety and can contribute in run support on first down, then control the secondary on third down. So there's another one. Again, the Vikings could go after. So there's just a lot. Like you said, there's a million different ways the Vikings could go. I think defensive back is where a lot of teams go. The Vikings could take an offensive lineman if they want it. They've already signed Fries. They brought in a center. They have their 2 bookend tackles. Blake Brandel was okay, but maybe you want to just add another body in there and maybe, have a guy to kind of be guard for the first few years. And then when Joe Kelly retires, then Joe Kelly, Joe Kelly's the reliever, isn't he?
I have no idea who you're talking about.
The Viking center. His last name is Kelly. Joe Kelly was that guy for the Dodgers. Remember, he threw at the Astros and gave him the pouty lip after the cheating incident. That was his thing. That was his claim to fame. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. I don't know, man. Vikings in 4. How about that?
I'm in.
And just to wrap up our Wolves discussion today, Wolves in 4. Till it ain't.
You like Wolves in 4, huh?
Wolves in 4 till it ain't. That's my fan perspective.
Okay.
Wolves are going to win. Wolves will win in 5 or 6.
I'm gone tomorrow, so I will just very quickly. I will say I think people are cowards when they make their picks, and so everyone just always says in 6 because
nobody wants to get screenshotted on Twitter.
So I'm not like a contrarian necessarily, but just to have fun, I'll say the Wolves in 5. I think the Wolves are better than the Lakers. I actually believe that earnestly. A better team. The best player is certainly on the Lakers roster. I believe that. But I think the Timberwolves are a better team, and I don't think the Lakers can defend well enough.
Yeah.
To keep the Wolves in check. So I'll say Wolves in 5.
Wolves back. We the ones, Jack. This has been the Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.